Terrorism is a monopoly of the politicians. According to my understanding and survey, terrorism is a monopoly of the politicians. Irrespective, they may be politicians of USA, of UK or India, it is the monopoly of the politicians. We have to realize what is the cause of terrorism. If we want to abolish terrorism, first we have to understand the root cause. I, being a doctor, we don't believe in symptomatic treatment. We believe in trying and finding out what is the cause and killing the germ. That's a better treatment. What is the cause of terrorism? The experts say that the cause of terrorism is injustice. When injustice is done on a particular group of people, when wrong is done on a particular group of people, they tend to retaliate. And that is the only cause of terrorism. And when we realize that whether it be the 9/11, the destruction of the Twin Towers in New York, whether it be the 7th July, the bombing in London, or the serial bomb blast 93 in Bombay, or the recent bomb blast on 11th of July, whether it be the thousands of people killed in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Gujarat, in Bosnia, whether it be in Palestine, in Lebanon, we find that behind them, the main cause are the politicians. I was wondering that when I landed in UK, that why were 21 young Muslims arrested? The government said we were keeping track on them for several months. Many people I met who knew these people were arrested personally. They said impossible. They can't be involved. What we realized that the people wait, when should this news come out? At that time, Israel was attacking Lebanon. Thousands of people were killed. The Britishers were objecting. So then you have a diversion. 21 Muslims supposed to bomb the airline are arrested. It's a bigger news, so people forget about thousands of innocent people being killed in Lebanon. Same thing in India, Kargil. Any problem, politicians talk about Kargil, talk about the enemy, Pakistan. Diversion, politics, whether it be in USA, whether it be in UK, whether it be in India. The major cause are the politicians. We know that our country, more than 60 years back, they were ruled by the Britishers, and they had a policy of divide and rule. More than 50 years back, we got freedom from the Britishers, but unfortunately, they have left, but they have left the policy behind. And our Indian politicians, they have adopted this policy of divide and rule. They adopt this policy of divide and rule for the vote bank. From records, we come to know that the country which has the maximum riots anywhere in the world, it is India. If not daily, at least once a week, we have communal riots. This great country of ours, so many great religions are there. Maximum riots, communal riots. And the major cause, almost all, directly or indirectly, they are the politicians. For the vote bank, for the power, for the money, they engineer these things. Otherwise, normally, I have met non-Muslims. It's my job, it's my profession. I'm a student of comparative religion. I keep on meeting different sorts of people. Generally, the common Indian, irrespective whether it's Hindu or a Muslim, they would love to live with each other harmoniously. They would love to live peacefully. We may have our differences. We don't want to fight. But it is these politicians. It is these politicians who engineer hatred amongst different religions so that they could fill their vote bank. And you see almost all the riots that have taken place, indirectly or directly, they are the cause. We know that a few years back, there was a political gimmick. The Babri Masjid and Ram Janmabhoomi issue. You know Babri Masjid, Ram Janmabhoomi issue in Ayodhya? I would like to know how many of us Muslims and Hindus knew about Babri Masjid and Ram Janmabhoomi before the politicians made it a gimmick. How many of us knew? I had never heard of this, Babri Masjid. And when I asked the common Hindu, he had never heard of this. Only after the politicians made it a political gimmick, people knew about it. And we know, on the 6th of December, 1992, they wanted to have a big procession, a gathering at this site. The Supreme Court had explicitly said that no gathering anywhere close to the disputed site. A group of politicians, they make it a political gimmick of Ram Janmabhoomi issue and the Babri Masjid issue. They want to gather on 6th of December. The ruling politicians, know very well that they have the Supreme Court backing. They could have easily stopped the gathering, easily. But then they think, if I stop, I may lose vote. So they let the gathering take place. The gathering takes place, and then they say, spontaneously, the thousands of cars were gathered there. Spontaneously, the Babri Masjid was destroyed, spontaneously. You know, there was live recording on the various satellite channels. We know that with trishuls and lathis, how can you get down a structure? Is it possible? No. They had planted explosives. With this pre-planned act, that planted explosives, anyone can see. You don't have to be a specialist of military. You can see it with your eyes. That explosive was planted, and that's how the structure came down. Can the structure come down with lathis and trishuls? Maybe George Bush saw this. 6 December 1992, that's how he had conducted the inside job of 11 September. Time does not permit me to speak about the inside job. That requires a lecture by itself. Inside job of 11 September. Many Americans have spoken about that. Maybe he saw it and he got the idea that let's conduct in New York also. Later on, what happens? This emerges into riots. Throughout the country, there were riots. It is the largest riot after partition in the whole country, where tens of thousands of innocent human beings were killed, mainly Muslims. Who's to blame? The innocent Indians. They are instigated by the politicians. Fight, kill the opposite religion people. Instigated, innocent people, they get instigated and they do the act. We know that even in Bombay, one of the cities that was maximum affected was Bombay. Even during partition, the riots that took place in Bombay was the worst in the history of Bombay. Even during partition, so many people were not killed as during the December 92 and January 93 riots. The police, if they wanted, they could have easily prevented the riot, very easy. With the backing of the reserve police, with the backing of the military, easily they could have done it, but they did not do it. Most of them were silent spectators. Some were good, they tried, but they were in a minority. Majority were silent spectators, some were party to it. I am aware that even the police is controlled by the politicians. So the police wants to do something, the politicians come in between. So the blame goes back to the politicians. Later on, the government appoints a single judge commission to appease the minority. And they appointed Justice Sri Krishna. It was famously called as the Sri Krishna Commission. And we know that Justice Sri Krishna, he was and is a devout and a practicing Hindu. But at the same time, he's an upright and honest judge, just like how we have Justice Suresh here. An honest and an upright judge. The verdict he gave, it did not go down the throat of the government. It takes a few years. And he had analyzed the full cases of the riots. He spoke with the politicians, with the police. Individually, he visited 26 police stations, analyzed the records, spoke with the police officer, junior and senior, spoke with the victims, spoke with the media, and after a great deal of research, he presented, we have this damning verdict of Sri Krishna Commission. He even gave suggestions, how can we prevent these riots? But, you know, it takes time. By the time this happened, the government says bygones are bygones. Because they know if they implement the report, they are afraid that they will lose the vote bank. At that time, to appease the minority, they appointed the commission. How many commissions? I don't know. I don't know how many commissions have been implemented. I think Justice Suresh can tell. How many commissions that they appoint have really been implemented in India? How many? So here we know it is a delaying tactics. The innocent Indians, especially the Muslim victims, we have faith in the judiciary system of India. If the politicians betray us, if our other citizen fellow members betray us, if the police betrays us, in this country, we have yet faith in the judiciary system. And we know that finally, most of the innocent people, whether they are arrested, etc., they are finally released. But the damage done to them, it cannot be undone. Later on, we come to know, after a couple of months, on 12th of March 1993, there was a series of 13 bomb blasts in Bombay, in which more than 250 innocent citizens of Bombay were killed. More than 250 innocent human beings were killed. And more than 700 human beings were injured. The opposition said, oh, planned everything. Justice Shri Krishna said, it was not meticulously planned, it was a retaliation. More than 1,500 innocent Muslims killed in riots in Bombay. More than 1,500 innocent Muslims during the Bombay riots of December 92 and January 93 were killed. It was a retaliation. And the authorities and the police said it was done by Muslim underworld with the help of some others. That's how the bomb blast took place. And they say, all of them agreed, even the police commissioner, they agreed that it was a retaliation to what had happened in Bombay. We know that immediately after the riots of December 92 and January 93, it was difficult for the Muslims to walk on the streets. It was difficult for him to travel in the train, travel in the bus, to work in a non-Muslim area. They were looked down upon, they were ridiculed. Immediately after 12th March 93 bomb blast, the scenario changes. Most of the Muslims, they know that killing innocent people is prohibited. Yet, they had a soft corner for these people who did the bomb blast. They were happy internally. In Islam, two wrongs don't make a right. Islam condemns this act. Killing innocent human being is to be condemned. You cannot kill innocent human being if somebody else has done injustice to you. You can't kill a third person even if you belong to the same community. Islam prohibits that. Whoever did it, whether Muslims or non-Muslims, whoever killed more than 250 innocent human beings on 12th March 1993, Islam condemns it. Most of the Muslims knew that killing innocent people is haram, it is prohibited, yet they were internally happy. But you cannot use wrong means to reach a right goal. You cannot. Islam does not permit that you use a wrong method to reach a right goal. There cannot be any justification. We realize that Muslims are harassed, they were tortured, they were killed, but you can't justify the killing of innocent human beings. Imagine the family of those more than 250 innocent human beings. When they come to know that the Muslims have killed us, they will think, what kind of religion is this? What wrong did they do? Did they harass you? The person who has harassed you, if you catch him and put him to trial and he is the culprit and you punish him, no problem. All religions give you permission. The innocent people killed on the street, what wrong they did to you? Imagine he will become a permanent enemy of Islam. Islam does not justify the killing of any innocent human being. It is to be condemned. When we realize the chain of sequence of events, who is to be blamed? We come to know that prevention is better than cure. Who is to be blamed? When we see the sequence of events, we come to know that if the opposition politicians, the politician from the opposition party, if they would not have used Babri Masjid and Ram Janmabhoomi issue as a political plank, the Bombay bomb blast in 93 would have taken place. Later on, the politicians in power, they could have easily prevented the gathering. They could have easily prevented the destruction of the Babri Masjid. Easily. They had the Supreme Court verdict. They had the military, they had the police, but they were afraid that if we do it, we'll lose vote bank, so they let the destruction take place. Second people responsible are the politicians in power. Third people, the innocent Indians, they are instigated against the minority. And they involve in killing of thousands of innocent Muslims. They are too responsible, but they are innocent people. Fourth people responsible is the police. The police could have easily prevented the riots in Bombay or anywhere in India, easily. The normal civilians, we aren't military trained. We cannot fight with the police. It's easy. It's very easy for the police of any city, especially Bombay, to prevent the riots. Very easy. Preventing terrorist attacks is difficult. I'll come to it later on. But riots is very easy. Easy. But they didn't do it. Some were afraid. There were a few who went out of the way and helped the innocent victims, but the majority were silent spectators. Some even were party to it. Some who were silent spectators, they were afraid that if we went against the politician, we would have been transferred. They too are to be blamed. Fourth people to be blamed are the police. Fifth, last, but not the least, the people who committed the bomb blast. Islam does not give permission to use wrong means to reach the right goal. All 5 categories are to be equally blamed. If you want to stop terrorist attacks, go to the root cause. Stop the injustice. Stop the wrong done to a particular group of people, and terrorism will stop. It is difficult for the police to stop the bomb blast. We know, we understand. It's not easy, it's difficult. But to stop the riots, very easy. Same case. You see most of the riots that took place in India, they have the same sequence, same people are involved, the details may differ. Same group of people involved. We have the other example of the Gujarat massacre that started on 27th of February 2002 and went on till March 2002. It was followed after the burning of a single coach of the Sabravati Express at Godhra on the 26th of February 2002. We know very well, it is nothing hidden. It's an open secret that this train, the bogie that was burned, according to forensic reports, according to circumstantial evidence, it says that the coach was burnt from inside. There are several evidences. But everything was planned. It was pre-planned. Muslims were instigated, there was a gathering, but they didn't kill. They didn't kill the innocent people. They say that 59 car sevaks were killed, yet it is to be doubted. Yes, there may be a few people that have been killed. Many people who were thought to be killed later on were found alive. So then they kept on changing the statement. So it was an inside job. Babri Masjid, inside job. 9/11 inside job. Godhra inside job. Main people to blame, they are the politicians. Then immediately, next day, from 27th of February 2002, no retaliation, pre-planned. It was a state-supervised massacre of the innocent Muslims in Gujarat. Nothing spontaneous, all pre-planned. And innocent citizens of Gujarat, they were instigated. They were given money, you can see evidence, to kill thousands of innocent Muslims. According to the state of Gujarat, 793 Muslims were killed and 253 Hindus were killed. But according to several human rights organizations, they said approximately 2 to 2,500 innocent human beings were killed. Almost all of them, they were Muslims. Other report says that more than 5,000 innocent Muslims were killed. There were thousands of Muslim women who were raped. There were tens of thousands of Muslims who were asked to leave the house. Their houses were looted. They were burnt. There were tens and thousands of Muslims whose places of business, they were burnt. They were completely destroyed. The people killed in Gujarat massacre is far more the number than the 9/11. The loss of the people of Gujarat, if you add it, it is much more than the loss that took place on 9/11. Yet, according to George Bush, the people who did Gujarat massacre, they aren't terrorists. Only if you harm the Americans, then there's a problem. We know that there are tons of evidence in form of literature, newspaper, booklets. You have the Communism Combat, you have videotapes, VCDs, DVDs, actual recordings of the culprits, the people responsible, yet no action taken. Even the judiciary system, I'm sorry to say, in Gujarat failed. I think they were pressurized by the politicians. So much so that the Supreme Court of India had to pass a remark against the High Court of Gujarat that they were biased and the trials weren't correct. I feel it was mainly the politicians. The Supreme Court of India, they passed a judgment against the High Court of Gujarat that what verdict they gave was wrong. And I feel maybe it was the politicians whom have used their power. And imagine what we find after a couple of months. We have the Akshardham temple massacre. 2 people were caught. They were killed. They are said to be Muslims. And the authority said that these people killed so many people in the temple in revenge, in retaliation. And they said that all this was nothing but retaliation. Islam does not justify that. They may have a logic. These people who did the attack, or the people who retaliated in other ways, they have a logic. They say that thousands of our family members were killed in front of eyes. Our mothers, our sisters have been raped in front of us. We have been looted. We know the person responsible is our neighbor, the person down the street. We meet him regularly. But when we see him, it reminds us of the torture. When they go to the law does not support. So they take the law in the hand. I am not justifying this act. Islam doesn't permit you. They take the law in the hand and they kill other innocent human beings. Islam does not justify that. They have a justification. They say, our mothers have been raped. We know the culprit. They're in front of us. No one is taking action. So they take the law in the hand. If you really find the culprit and book him, and if he's caught, if you can do that, and punish him, Islam justifies. You can't kill any other innocent human being. Islam does not justify that. You cannot use a wrong mean to come at the right goal. However much you may have sympathy for them, but the point to be noted, Islamically, it is wrong. It's not justified. Killing innocent human being. Imagine the hundreds of innocent human beings killed by these people in retaliation. They in turn become enemies of Islam. What wrong have they done? It is the same thing. The earlier people killed innocent Muslims. Now you kill innocent Hindus. It's not justified in Islam. If you can catch the culprit, book him, punish him, fine. But not any innocent human being. Later on the 11th of July, we have, in this year 2006, we have a series of bomb blasts in the train. 7 bomb blasts in the span of 11 minutes. In which more than 200 innocent human beings were killed. More than 800 were injured. The police and the authorities, they say, this too was in retaliation to the thousands of Muslims killed in Gujarat. The authorities say it is the hand of the LET, Lashkar-e-Toiba. If you look at the sequence of events, could this have been prevented? Easily. Who's responsible? Number one, those politicians who had planned the burning of the coach in the Suburban Express at Godhra. They are responsible. Number two, the people at the center government. They could have stopped it, but they belong to the same party, they didn't do anything. Number three, the innocent citizens of Gujarat. They were instigated against the Muslims. And they fell in the trap. They too are responsible. Number four, the police of Gujarat could have easily prevented, they didn't do it. They are responsible. And we know from records that most of the places, it was done under the supervision of the police. If you see the commission report, they too are responsible. Number five, the judiciary system of Gujarat. They didn't take action. Number six, the people who retaliated in the wrong way. The people who did the bomb blast, Islam does not justify that. They too are equally responsible. All 6 categories of people are responsible. But if we can prevent the first category, the first few categories, surely you will not have these terrorist attacks. And we know that in the past 1 month, thousands of Muslims have been harassed, mainly by the police. The police says it is mainly the Muslims who have done it. It is the hand of the LET, Lashkar-e-Toiba. I say, if you can really identify them, catch the people who are involved, we have no objection. But you can't harass thousands of innocent Muslims. Hundreds of them were rounded up. Hundreds of Muslims, they were detained for days and weeks together. As Justice Suraj said, that hundreds of them, they had been rounded up, even their family was not informed. Imagine. And the thousands of innocent family members, they too have been harassed. We know about 22 to 25 so far have been officially arrested. All of them, 100%. None of them, not a single arrested case is directly linked with the train bomb blast of Bombay. All of them indirectly related to some other event. If you really catch the culprit, if you have proof, you have no objection. But at random picking up the Muslims, what signals are you sending? We know that about more than 300 innocent people were rounded up in Malvani. More than 300. For what? For interrogation. Any logical person will tell you that for interrogation, minimum, you at least require 3 or 4 policemen. If you want to do a proper interrogation, 1 policeman to threaten, 1 to have a soft approach, 1 to note down, maybe 1 to observe. At least 3, if not 4, minimum 3, for a proper interrogation. It takes minimum 1 or 2 hours. People, experts say 4 or 5 hours. I say minimum at least 1 or 2 hours. How many interrogation can you do? What is the manpower of the Manvani police station? What is the manpower? How many can they do in a day? 10, 20, 30, 40? How many? How many? What is the manpower? What is the force? Maximum 100 if you let it go. They round up more than 300 people, keep them waiting for the full day, then they take the telephone number and address and leave them. What signals are you sending? It is my request that the police should take the Muslims in confidence. Recently, after the bomb blast, there was a program organized by the non-Muslim. How we have Muslims have here on terrorism. Similar, there was a program organized by the non-Muslims on similar topic. Topic was different, but the issue was the same. By the non-Muslims. And the organizers had invited 2 ex-senior police officials from Bombay. Ex. One of them comes and blames the madrasa of Pakistan, the reason for terrorist attacks here. Second one comes and blames the madrasas of India. In the speech you tell them that they should have computers, English, no problem, I'm with you. But to say that the Indian madrasas are directly or indirectly, even remotely associated with any form of terrorism in India is nothing but a blatant lie. Unfortunately for that police officer, there was one of the senior advocates in the audience. After the talk, he went and told him that, can you even give me a single white paper, single proof that any madrasa in India has been proven to be associated with any terrorist act? He said, I don't know. Imagine what statement is the senior police officer giving to non-Muslims. What message are you sending? Hindus, in turn, will be against the madrasas. So making such irresponsible statements by senior police officers, see, I'm being careful, I'm not naming. Why? Because I'm a responsible citizen. What signals are you sending? I don't know of any madrasa in India. See, they are the center of learning. Fine, we may disagree. We may want English there, we may want modernization. I speak with the people of madrasa. I may have differences, have more education. Fine, have English, have computers. We agree. But to say that they are involved in terrorist activities, indirectly or directly, even remotely, is nothing but a blatant lie. So what is happening? What message are you giving? We know that hundreds of innocent Muslims are detained. Many were arrested. The police goes and does a search in the house. Then they find some books on jihad. Proof. Proof that involved in terrorist attacks. The Bombay media reported that these same books are being sold in the bookstores of Mohammedli Road for several years. If that was the case, why weren't these bookstores closed down? Same books. Jihad. I would like to tell that, do you know, the Quran too speaks about jihad. And almost all, every Muslim house has the Quran. Do you mean to say that you're going to arrest all the Muslims of Bombay? What signals are you sending? I, being a student of comparative religion, I would like to say that if you read the Mahabharata, there are more verses of killing in Mahabharata than the Quran. If you have a competition, Mahabharata has more verses of killing people than compared to the Quran. Bhagavad Gita is nothing but a guidance given by Shri Krishna to Arjun. Arjun says, how can I fight against my own cousins? If you read Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 1, verse number 43, 44, 45, 46, he puts his arms on the battlefield and says, I would prefer dying unarmed rather than fight my cousins. Immediately. Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 2, verse number 2. Shri Krishna, he says, Arjun, how could you be an impotent? And he continues, time doesn't permit me, you can see my videotape. It says that it is a duty of the Kshatriya to fight. When we see in context, I, being a student of comparative religion, I agree with all the verses of fighting in Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata because I know the context. It's a fight between justice and injustice. It's a fight between truth and falsehood. And what Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata say, that if you have to fight against falsehood, against injustice, even if it be your cousins, no problem, family members, fight them. We are with it. That is what the Quran says. What my request is, that even the police should know the religious teachings of the different citizens of India. And I always take opportunity, and in the past several years, I have spoken to several non-Muslim police officers, senior police officers in Bombay, in Bangalore, in various cities of India. I was even called a couple of years back to the National Police Academy in Hyderabad, where I addressed more than 100 IPS officers, high-ranking commissioners of police, DIG, IG, DG, the Director General of the National Academy was there. And when I spoke, they were shocked. Most of the information I gave, they were shocked. You should know what is the teaching of different religions. Imagine if I pick up these verses of the Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita and quote out of context, surely we can get riots here. We have to understand different religions. And by God's grace, alhamdulillah, I have spoken to police and military internationally. In UK, in USA, in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, alhamdulillah. And I love interacting, especially with the non-Muslim police, giving them the right picture of Islam. Unfortunately, they get the information of Islam from the international media. I'll come to the media in the ending. So what we should say, that we should have understanding. I've been told by several advocates, and as Justice Suresh also said, that hundreds of Muslims were picked up. They were detained. Some of them mentally tortured, some of them physically tortured. The advocates told me that the clients, as Justice Suresh said, that they were tortured. Some of them were even made to sign on papers they didn't agree, even on blank papers. If you know who the culprits are, select a few, catch them. If proven, if they have done it, they should be punished. We aren't against it. But to catch thousands of innocent Muslims, what signals are you sending? Imagine to catch 10 terrorists, you interrogate and harass 1,000 innocent Muslims, irrespective whether you catch those 10 terrorists or not, surely you are making 100 new terrorists. Many non-Muslim senior police officers in different parts, in different cities of India, and one particular in Bombay, he told me, Zakir bhai, Dr. Zakir Naik, I will only be happy if you give talk in Hindi and Urdu. Your talk should be heard by the masses. I didn't speak. Recently, a couple of years back, I started speaking. Many senior non-Muslim police officers in different parts of India, they tell me, they know that by God's grace, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 people come for my talks. And when I went to Kashmir, because I was the official guest, I met the minister, power minister, chief minister, but at that time the governor of Kashmir, Saxena, he wanted to meet me. My schedule was tight. Non-Muslim, I took out time. He wanted lunch, dinner, no time, I went for breakfast. Saxena, the governor of Kashmir, he happened to be an ex-military man. I forgot his post, some colonel or major or high post he was. And we discussed. He was caring for the people of Kashmir. Later on, he comes to Maharashtra, he comes to Bombay. He wants to meet me. He calls me to the Raj Bhavan, the governor's house. I go and meet there. He tells Dr. Zakir Naik, you know, the impact that you had in Kashmir, the people that follow you, we want you to come again. We want you to come on the television of Kashmir. We want to come on the radio. But what my question is, that do you think my talk will be effective? I know that there is not a single verse in the Quran which justifies the killing of innocent human beings. There is not a single saying, a hadith of the Prophet, that you can kill innocent human being even if they belong to the same community that does an injustice to you. I know that. I can speak. But imagine if thousands of innocent Muslims are being harassed. The police, they tell us that most probably it's a hand of the LET, Lashkar-e-Toiba. For sake of argument, I agree with it. And the police tells us that the local hand should be involved, otherwise the bomb blast can't take place. I agree with it. Imagine the Lashkar-e-Toiba, if they're involved, if you interrogate 1,000 innocent human beings, they'll get ready-made recruits. Ready-made. You torture them, ready-made recruits. Isn't the police helping the Lashkar-e-Toiba? I'm sorry, please don't get me wrong. I don't want them to misunderstand me, otherwise they'll come to arrest me also. What signals are you sending? Imagine if I agree with you that your theory is correct, that Lashkar-e-Toiba is involved and they want local hands. You should get the Muslims in confidence. You can't round up 1,000 innocent Muslims. We know, we understand that getting the culprits is very difficult, especially because the bomb blast was done with precision, with accuracy. It was a mastermind, according to the police. We know it is difficult. We understand your case. But that doesn't mean, in the name of interrogation, you pick up a few innocent people. We can understand. But thousands, what message are you sending? Do you think my lecture will be effective? Maybe I will be able to convince 2, 3%, 5%, not more than that. So we have to solve the problem. What is the root problem? And the police should get the confidence of the citizens. If that is not there, how will they be able to stop terrorism? And if you want respect, you should give respect. There were good policemen also. Many of my friends who are advocates and lawyers, they told me that there were good policemen who helped the people when they were harassed. Some of the policemen had a very good heart. They helped them, they supported them. But generally, oh, you have a beard. Why do you have a beard? Oh, you have trousers above the ankle. Why do you keep it? Wearing a cap, as though it is mentioned in the rule book. A terrorist should have a beard, should have trousers above the ankle and a cap. Then I would be number 1 terrorist. Even I have my trousers above the ankle, I'm wearing a cap and I have a beard. What signals are you sending? There should be a proper training, a proper understanding of the religion of Islam. That's what William, when he advised, he told the US government that you don't know Islam. George Bush doesn't know Islam at all. It was the article that came yesterday in the midday. He doesn't know. Unless you don't understand, how will you be able to solve the problem? I don't want the police to misunderstand me. When I tell the Muslims that killing innocent people is wrong, though many Muslims disagree with me, Quran condemns it. Our Prophet condemned it. Killing any innocent human being, you can't justify it. I have to speak the truth. At the same time, I even have to speak the truth to the police force. I hope they understand the situation. And according to Julio Ribeiro, he writes an article in Hindustan Times, I think it was the 9th of September, he says that more the unnecessary arrests that are made, to get a breakthrough becomes more difficult proportionately. The more unnecessary people you arrest, the chances you get at the real culprit is more difficult. On the 2nd of September 2006, there was a good gesture by the Police Commissioner of Bombay, A. N. Roy. He wrote a personal letter to a couple of 100 Muslim leaders saying that the investigation is unbiased, we aren't harassing the Muslims. I too received one of these letters. And he said that if there is any query, any questions, we can come and sit across the table. We can talk. It's a good gesture. The letter came recently, just maybe a week back. I only hope it is not a theoretical exercise of public relations. If it's practically implemented, that innocent Muslims should not be harassed. If you really want to get the confidence, you see to it that you get the confidence of the Muslims. And then only you will be really able to catch the culprits. And if you get the culprits, whoever they are, surely they have to be punished. We know the authorities, they tell us that why majority Muslims have been picked up. And the argument given was that when we analyze that in Punjab terrorism, majority people arrested, they were Sikh. In Ulfa, in Assam, majority were Hindus. In Tamil Nadu LTT, they were Hindus. So but natural in Bombay, because we think it's linked with Pakistan, Kashmir, it would be Muslims. I agree with you for sake of argument. If a terrorist attack is done in Punjab, the majority people living in Punjab are Sikh. So if majority Sikhs are arrested, it is logical. In Assam, majority are Hindus, so if Hindus are arrested, it is logical. In Tamil Nadu, majority people living are Hindus, so Hindus are arrested, logical. In Bombay, are the majority people living Muslims? The Muslims are in minority. So why are they being picked up in majority? If you think it's an act of Kashmir militant, if you have got records, we have got no doubt with that. But do you mean to say the LTT can't come to Bombay? Do you mean to say Ulfa can't come to Bombay? Do you mean to say 6 terrorists can't come to Bombay? You cannot say 100% this act have been Muslim. You can say high possibilities, and if you show proof, we are with you. What we are trying to tell you, that identify the people. who are responsible, catch them and punish them. But not thousands of people, innocent Muslims being rounded up. We know there are several records. Just a couple of months back, according to the ATS of Maharashtra, 16 members were arrested from a hardcore Hindu organization. They were involved in 3 bomb blasts in mosques. Mahmudi Mosque in Parbani, one of the mosques in Jalna, one in Pune, 3. And recently on 6th of April, in one place, by mistake, a bomb detonates, by mistake. While they were making a bomb, it exploded. It killed 4 people and 11 were injured. When inquiries were made, many people belonged to the same hardcore Hindu organization. And they found there that the plan was that to attack the mosque in the guise of Sikh. You know, this took place in Nanded. Sikh, why? Because there was a rift going on between the Muslims and Sikh. A Sikh girl married a Muslim boy, so there was tension, so they wanted to take advantage. So they wanted to do an act in the guise of Sikh. There are cases we know that Hindus have attacked wearing caps and beards. So you can't say 100% Muslims are involved. Maybe high possibilities, I'm not saying no. Recently, a few days back, on Friday, 8th of September, 4 bomb blasts took place in Malegaon. One outside one of the mosques, one outside a graveyard, in which 35 innocent Muslims were killed and more than 100 innocent Muslims were injured. Again, prime suspect, LET. Can be, but not prime. Imagine, it is a game plan. It's a name game. If you go to America, it's Al-Qaeda. Here it is LET. According to an article that came in the DNA on the 6th of September, a person by the name of Joseph, he writes that the foreign experts, they tell that if you involve yourself too much in the blame game, you lose focus and the main culprits are never caught. You do a proper investigation. If really they're caught, they have to be punished. Irrespective whether the terrorists are Muslims or non-Muslims, whether they belong to Kashmir, whether to Pakistan, whether Ulfa, whether LTT, if they are proved to be involved in that, they should be punished. I am not here to support any terrorist act, not at all. But if you want to get to the bottom of it, you should know that this should be done meticulously. We should take the citizens in confidence. One of the other cause is the media. Mainly that media which is controlled by the politicians. We have to be careful of this. And this media, they can convert black to white, day to night, hero into a villain, villain into hero. And we see that very often. If you see my tapes, I've given very such examples. But in India, it's fortunate that the more popular media is not controlled by the politicians. And we find that this media really gave the true picture. Whether it be the Gujarat riots, the Bombay riots in '93, or even today, the innocent Muslims are being harassed. The media, whether it be the newspaper, the news channels, they have really given a true picture of what's happening. Not 100%. Sometimes they get involved in news which is sensational. So when they get the news without checking up, they give it. If it's sensational, they give it. But as a whole, we have to agree, the media has been honest. I'm talking about non-Muslim media. I'm not talking about the Muslim media. And here we find that they were honest and they projected the real picture. But what we have to be careful is of the media which is controlled by the politicians. And as far as the judiciary system is concerned in India, the innocent citizen of India, especially the Muslim victims, we have faith in the Indian judiciary system. Though some people say that some are corrupt, they are blasted in the community, but as a whole, we know most of the judges, they are upright and they are honest. We only hope that these people are not influenced by the politicians. So far I know most of the judges, they don't care much for the politicians. If once the politicians get hold of the judiciary system, then God save this country. Yet we have faith in the judiciary system. And to conclude, we have to realize that since we know that the cause of terrorism is injustice, the cause of terrorism is wrongdoing to a particular group of people, this thing should be stopped. How can we stop? As I mentioned, number one, the politicians, they should be honest, they should be just. They should not go for the vote bank and do things which are wrong. Once they're honest and they're just, irrespective they lose their seat, you see to it that terrorism will stop. Point number 2, the innocent Indian citizens, they should not be instigated by the politicians and do wrong things and kill other innocent human beings. Point number 3, the police, they should be upright. They should be just. If someone is being harmed, they should see to it that is protected. They should not be ploy of the politicians. I know there are times that they can be transferred, but if every policeman in India is honest, the new policeman who's transferred will also be honest. So what will the politician do? If 100% of the policemen, I'm not blaming all of them, please don't get me wrong. I know most of them honest, they want to do, but because they're under the pressure of the politicians, they're afraid that they'll be transferred, they'll be harassed. But if all the policemen get together and say, let's all of us be honest, if they transfer you, the new person coming will also be honest. So there itself, most of this trouble of injustice will stop. And last but not the least, people cannot take the law in their hand. They cannot kill other innocent human beings, even if they belong to the same community who has an injustice on you. If we take this and we see to it that injustice is stopped, then surely India will be a very good country. It is estimated that in the next, by 2020, India would be a superpower. If all the Hindus and Muslims, if we live together, if we love each other harmoniously, we may have our differences. The differences will be there. We live with our differences, but we love each other and we live peacefully and harmoniously. Again, India will be a superpower. And Mahatma Gandhi, he said that if India has to improve, it should be ruled by a dictator as honest and as upright as Hazrat Umar. May Allah be pleased with him. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of a nation, he advised the best thing India can do is have a dictator like Hazrat Umar. May Allah be pleased with him, radiallahu anhu. He was an honest person. When it came for justice, he did not see whether it is a Muslim or non-Muslim. For justice, he gave justice. Therefore, he got the title Al-Faruq, the person who differentiated truth from falsehood. I started my talk by quoting a verse of the Quran from Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 81, which says, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَاقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. When truth is hurled against falsehood, falsehood perishes. For falsehood is by its nature bound to perish. I would like to end my talk by giving the quotation of Dr. Adam Pearson, who said that people who worry that one day nuclear weaponry will fall in the hands of the Arabs, they fail to realize that the Islamic bomb has already been dropped. It fell the day Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
Jazakallah, thank you for your appreciation of the talk. We wonder how awesome and corrective would be the question and answer session. We start the question and answer session quickly. May I point the rules? Your question should be on the topic. It should be